That's a really good question.
Okay, so I'm going to ask it.
Okay.
Good. You should.
I'll have time to think about
You
it.
just did.
I never get time to think about what I'm going to say very often.
All right. Well, here we go. We got time. Welcome into another edition of Mostly Peaceful. My name is Chris Hand, joined by Dan Mandis, Matt Murphy, and today's guest, John Rich, is in studio. What's up, John?
Hey,
How are you, man?
Hey, good to be with you guys. Nice to see you in person.
Yeah, excited to have you on here, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I've interviewed you on the radio at least 3 or 4, maybe 5 times, and today was the first time that I actually met you. I actually had to say, I'm Dan.
Right.
I wasn't sure if you knew which one I was.
I did know. I knew what you guys look like because I watched the live stream that you guys
very
do
cool.
quite a bit.
Well, thank you.
On YouTube, which is cool to have that. But no, I knew what you look like. I knew you're the best looking guys in town. Everybody knows that.
True.
Faces
We're
for
also
radio.
Checks in the mail.
we're also the most humble. Nobody's more humble than us.
Right. We're the most humble of any person that's ever been humble in the world.
It's we love being humble. We're great at it.
Everybody that does their Trump, they do the fingers.
Yeah.
The fingers are crucial to the Trump.
I love that you already settled the debate for us because like moments ago before you got here, Dan's like, "Oh, he doesn't listen to my show." I'm like, "I guarantee you, John Rich has listened to your show."
Trump's other thing is the squeeze box.
Yeah.
So it's
This.
like, and so the thing is,
Yep.
like if I ever gave him one, I could probably teach him how to play Yankee Doodle Dandy or something on that.
All right,
Look at this. Who wants to hear Yankee Doodle Dandy? State of the Union. We're taking a music break.
Oh, that is so funny.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
All right, so my question is this, because we were just before we turned the cameras on, we were talking about all the amazing things that you're doing, dealing with the TVA, veterans, helping people out, and dealing with the government and stuff. So you do a lot of really important stuff. Are there times where you look at your guitar and you're like, I've got other passions now, and you just think, I'm doing some really important things right now? Not that what you did with your guitar was not important,
Right.
but I think you see what I'm saying.
No, that doesn't happen. They actually coexist.
Do they really?
Pretty poetically. Yeah, because I've said a lot of times to people that music is my weapon of choice. It's the most powerful thing you can do. I mean, songwriters and musicians shut down the Vietnam War to a large extent. I mean, John Fogerty, Bob Dylan, that whole crew. They wrote songs that created populist sentiment where people said, that's exactly how we feel. It ain't me, I ain't no fortunate son. I mean, those songs hit. And the things I deal with today that I'm trying to help with, music is always in the toolbox. Like I can pull that guitar out and go, well, maybe we ought to write a song about it. And as silly as that sounds, it works. That's the last thing anybody wants is for a song to be written about what they're doing that's not good. It worked with TVA. They hated it. And that was the point. If they
Do you
didn't,
think the song, not to interrupt you, but do you think this, I think the song got you the meeting.
Yeah, I do too. I think when you had millions of people singing along to that song and downloading it, and they just went, okay, this is a bigger wave than we know what to do with. So, I never look at the guitar and go, you'll have to wait. There's always one hanging nearby at my house, and pulled one off the wall yesterday, matter of fact, working on a little something.
Where are you finding your inspiration these days?
It's interesting. My career as a songwriter in the beginning, without no record deal, no anything happening, you're just writing. You're basically listening to the radio and trying to write a version of that. So hopefully you can get a cut. And if you can get a cut, you can get a publishing deal. If you get that, then they start pitching your songs and maybe get a bunch of cuts. And that's the game in Nashville. So I did that and I won that game. I was Songwriter of the Year 3 years in a row at ASCAP. I've had hundreds of songs recorded by other people outside of Big and Rich and myself. So won that game. And then you get down the road and you start going, well, what's another plaque mean on the wall to me at this point? And the people that would give me the plaque, do I really want their approval at this point? No, I don't want their approval because I don't like anything about them or their system, so I don't want their stupid plaque either. So why would I even go after that? So I don't. I don't care. None of my songs will be played on the radio going forward, and that's fine with me. But I learned that there's this massive tens of millions of patriots around the U.S. that all have similar thought processes. And if you can write a song, like I had one that said, stick your progress where the sun don't shine. Okay. Yep. So I put that little song out, and it's the number one most downloaded song in all genres for 2 weeks in a row. We're pushing off Beyonce and Lizzo and Billie Eilish. held them out of number one for 2 weeks. And at that moment, I went, holy smokes. Like if I cut the biggest radio hit I've ever written in my life, if I went and wrote that and recorded it and put it out, it would not be the number one most downloaded song for 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
The only reason that happened was because that message was something people felt. And so my inspiration these days is if I'm feeling it strongly, a lot of people are probably feeling and thinking the same thing. And if I can put that to a song that helps them or drives awareness, pushes back against something or supports something, that's the weaponization of music is what I would call it.
It's kind of interesting, and I won't monopolize
It's
it.
a tool. Music is a tool to me now.
It's interesting because I'd be willing to bet that when you started songwriting many, many years ago, the common theme was always going to be love, right? But now you found these other themes that are connecting with people outside of just the love songs.
I would argue love still drives it. So if you look at the TVA situation, the song's called "The Devil in the TVA." That's not exactly a love song, but why did I write it?
Yeah.
Because I love the people who are getting rolled over by the TVA. I love them. I love that type of American that's out there. I know them. I'm one of them, and I empathize with the situation they're in. And I would hope somebody would empathize with me if I was in the situation. And so, out of love for them and respect for them, you write a song. So I would say it still drives it.
While we're talking about the music industry, do you think has it gotten worse? Is it the same? It feels like it's been democratized with all of the different platforms that people can break through on now, that they don't have to bow before the altar of the publishing companies, bow before the altar of the organizations that we all hear about. Basically the big music houses.
Mm-hmm.
Has it gotten any better?
Yeah, the song you did with Tom McDonald gets as much play as anything on the radio
That thing
now.
got like 15 million views.
So it feels like artists have an avenue by which they can say, you know what, we don't have to do it the way that they did it.
They do if
I don't
they're
think Hank did it this way.
They do if they're independent.
Right.
If they're not independent, they don't have a choice. So the second you sign that record contract, they got you. They own your likeness, your name, your voice, everything about you. They own it musically. They own it. And so, like I've said many times in interviews, that a lot of the songs I've put out in the past several years, you would have never heard them if I had a record deal, ever. I walk them into the label and go, listen to this song called Progress. If this gets on radio, it's going to be the biggest hit in America. They'd go, oh, that's a nice song. What else you got? And that's the end of the conversation. It's just done. And you legally cannot put it out because you don't own your own voice and you don't own the recording and you don't own anything. So the independent artist can do what you're saying. And I think that enough of us have succeeded at a big enough level that it has caused the industry's greed to start to compete with their ideology.
So they're backing off with some of the artists.
They're starting to
now?
allow things to be said that in the Biden administration especially, they would not allow it. It just wouldn't happen. I'm starting even to see artists even sonically go more country. Like there's a guy named Zach Top right now who's probably my favorite guy out there. He sounds like a tenor version of Keith Whitley.
Yeah.
He really does. The dude is great. And he's cutting country songs and he's talking about regular stuff and there's nothing weird about what he's doing and the guy's blowing up.
When you heard Zach Top, when I first heard Zach Top, I thought, my goodness, this guy sounds like 80s, 90s.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but it's a great sound. I love that sound.
He sounds like, people don't know this, but Keith Whitley was actually started out in bluegrass, playing with Ralph Stanley, Dr. Ralph Stanley, and the Clinch Mountain Boys. So it was actually Keith Whitley and Ricky Skaggs were both backing up Charles Stanley, which, my God, I wish I could have been at one of those shows. Because Ralph Stanley to me is my all-time favorite bluegrass singer, and Skaggs, hero to me. But I heard Zach Top, and I went, and I'm going to meet him this summer. I'm going to go to a show. I haven't met him yet. Taking my son out there to go see him. I'm going to tell him, has anybody ever told you you sound like Skaggs and Whitley blended together? Because Skaggs is high, blended together singing for Ralph Stanley. And if he lights up and goes exactly right, then I've just made a new friend.
Yep.
He's really good, man. He's the original kind of good.
Do you have a favorite country artist right now? Like if Zach Top is it, okay. But what do you think of contemporary?
Yeah, to me, Zach's the one holding the line the best.
Okay.
Aldine, listen, I wrote 7 out of the 10 songs on his first record.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah. Hicktown, Amarillo Sky, Johnny Cash, Why. I mean, all these massive hits, 7 out of 10. And so he and I became good friends early on with all that going on. And I remember several years back, early on in the Biden years, where Jason's wife posted something on Instagram. Remember that story?
I sure do.
Everybody's attacking her. I think it was about transgender surgeries. Everybody jumped all over her. And Aldine hits me up. He goes, "You see what people are saying about my wife?" I said, "Yeah, I see it." He goes, "What do you think I ought to do about it?" I said, "Well, what would you do to anybody else that was talking to your wife like that?" He went, "You know what would happen." I said, "Well, if it's me, I'd double up both my fists and I'd go loud and vocal and I would defend her and go after him." He goes, "Well, you know what'll happen." I said, "Yeah, they won't invite you to the award shows and you'll sell twice as many tickets."
Yeah.
He goes, "You really think so?" I go, "Yes, I know so. That's what will happen." And so he thought about it for a while, and the next thing you know, here he comes, and he starts swinging, and guess what? He's not playing amphitheaters. He's playing football stadiums.
Yep.
Because the American people appreciate somebody that'll say the truth and what they actually think themselves.
I mean, it feels like the last 5 or so years, and I feel like you're humble enough you wouldn't say. I feel like you were leading the charge on this with a number of others.
Way ahead of the curve.
It was like, you know what? We don't have to play by these rules. We have opinions too. The people that buy our music, the people that appreciate our music, come to our concerts. They have opinions too, and they have voices too. And it almost felt to me like a modern version of the 1970s with Waylon and Willie. It was like, you know what? We don't have to play by these rules anymore. And it was now different circumstances and far more political nowadays. But it felt like that kind of pushback. Because you know what? We don't have to do things the way that you tell us to do things just because you tell us to do it that way.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I mean, what's the law of physics? For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That's the laws of physics. Well, when people rain down too much tyranny, especially on creative people, they are going to revolt against that. That's the opposite reaction, and it always overcomes that tyranny. It's too big, they can't stop it. They bank on the fact that you'll be so afraid of what they might say or do to you that you'll never make that move. But there's some of us out there that go, "That's what it means to be an American. Come on, punch me in the face again. That all you got?" Like that attitude is what knocks them down finally. If you will not stop, you will not back up, they don't know what to do with that. That works in all situations, by the way, whether it's the music industry, radio, politics, the TVA, it doesn't matter who it is. If you will not back up and what you're saying is true, they'll eventually sit down and work it out.
That's one of the things that I've noticed about you in watching all your dealings with the TVA, and is that you don't back down, and you are somebody very confident not only in your beliefs, but you know what the hell you're talking about. So do you think that that's one of the reasons why you've been so effective against the TVA, is because of they're not used to that kind of pushback and that kind of aggression against them?
Well, one interesting thing about that Cheatham County battle with TVA, now there's other battles happening, but the Cheatham County specifically, TVA never issued one defensive remark about what they were doing. They never tried to defend what they were doing. They never pushed back against what I was saying because they couldn't. Because the nature of what they were doing was so egregious that they would sound like idiots if they tried to back it up in public. They wouldn't do it. I'm sure they turned down interviews with you guys. They wouldn't even post it on social media. They basically just gave up. So what I've learned is you don't go after the TVA. You find out, you do your research and find out who inside of the TVA is pushing the lever to make this happen. And who else are they dealing with that is manhandling these American landowners? And once you figure that part out, TVA, if you can hide behind the brand TVA, people can hide for a long time. But the second you start calling their first and last names out in a video, and you start putting farmers on your videos sitting on their porches and calling their names out, and you see the look in their eyes, old men with tears welling up in their eyes, that's the real stuff. And people cannot defeat that. It's really just the truth. It's like unvarnished truth. It's why I didn't go out there with a camera crew. I went out there with an iPhone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you purposely, when the Cheatham County thing, for example, there's some similarities between how you connect with an audience writing a country song and talking about human stories and telling the human stories of the people that the TVA is trying to victimize?
That's a very perceptive question, actually. Very good question. Yes, it's exactly the same. So, the way you write a song that becomes a hit is you have to put the listener in the room with it. They have to smell it, taste it, feel it. I put them in this room right now. If I was going to write a song about this room, they would know everything that's going on in here. They would be in the room with us as they're listening to the song, because you're telling that story to such detail and in an interesting way that they have to go there. So yeah, when you're telling somebody's story of plight, somebody's story of being tyrannized, the more detail and the more you can bring that audience right onto that front porch and let them see that old man's eyes, and let them see my eyes too, that I ain't jacking around with y'all. I'm not a politician. Nobody pays me any money to do anything other than sing songs. What are you going to do about it? Well, once they realize that, you start getting some action. It is unfortunate that it took that much beating and banging on the TVA for that many months for them to finally back up. But it led to what's happening now, which is they are now in the proactive mood. They're have a listening ear right now to start changing the way they're doing things.
One of the things that I thought was so effective is you took the micro, which was the Cheatham County situation, and obviously it wasn't a micro to the people that it impacted, and you turned it into a macro. And when you did that, TVA didn't know how to handle it. They are, in my opinion, they're conditioned to understand how to manage the micro, and they get to those county commissioners or those local officials, and they either buy them off or talk them out of pushing back against them, and they can handle that. When you bring it to the mass of people that you brought it to, they can't handle it because they don't know how to handle that level of pushback that you created through those very, very personal videos. And that's what I thought was masterful, is that they can't talk to a county commissioner and talk a county commissioner out of doing the right thing when there's 1 million people watching your videos, or more than 1 million people watching your videos and clapping back against what they're doing, because what they're doing was wrong.
Right.
And as long as they keep it in the dark, they can manage to get away with it. When you shed the light on it, they can't.
Yeah, I told the CEO, Don Moole, he was sitting in my house, and I said, Don, you got kids? He's like, yeah. I said, have you ever caught yourself using the cliche, just because you can doesn't mean you should?
Yes.
And he kind of grinned at me and he went, yeah. I said, TVA was built in 1933 by a socialist president, and it was designed in such a way for you to legally be able to do everything that you've been doing. You have not broken the law on anything that you've done because you can do it, you do it. I said, the problem is that's not the way America was intended to run. I said, so just because you can doesn't mean you should. And then I explained to him, if you continue doing this to people, we are going to monkey wrench you every single time. And I said, then you got to look at this situation, Don. You got to look at upside versus downside. When you're looking at, for instance, in Gallatin, the Gregory Farm, 1787, 8th generation Revolutionary War era farm. I told Don, I said, Don, your planners should have looked at that and said, that's a 1787, 8th generation family farm. It's the quickest route to do it. It'll cost us the least amount of money, so that's the way we're going to go. But somebody in the room should have said, hang on a minute, there is another route. It will cost us X amount of millions more, but we don't ransack the Revolutionary War era farm. But nobody was in the room at that point to say that. And so now what you're looking at, I said, Don, how much time and money is it going to cost you to change that route? He said, 1.5 years, 2 years, and many millions of dollars. I said, you'd have been better off just to say, we're not even going to try it. And I said, that's the point I'm making. Me, the USDA, the EPA, Housing and Urban Development, the AFPI, all the people in Washington that are sitting there sharpening their knives, ready to go in on these situations. I said, we got nothing to fight about if you just stay off their land. Just make the right decision out of the gate and nobody's fighting. I said, and then you can execute Trump's energy dominance plan fast and efficient. Will it cost you a little more money? Yeah. Will it cost you time? No. And time is way more valuable than your money, right? And he went, yeah. I mean, he was agreeing. So it was a good first step, but that's logical to think that way. If I'm running a business and my decisions keep costing me time and money, I need to make different decisions. It's bad business.
Well,
And at
and
the end of the day, TVA is a business.
What's fascinating about what you're describing, the bureaucracy that exists, they get every interested party in a room to talk about something except the people that are going to be most impacted.
That's correct.
And most affected by it. And they act as if those people don't really have anything to do with what they're doing. And that's what's so frustrating to so many people. It's what you've highlighted on the Gregory situation. Is like they never went to talk to the Gregory family.
Right, and that's part of what we're working on right now is a massive change in protocols for TVA. I call it TVA 2.0, and this has been seen by multiple cabinet members, all the way up to the executive branch, and they all read it and went, if they'll do that, thumbs up. And so we're setting a meeting now. There's going to be a big room full of a lot of people, TVA and everybody from DC, and I'll be in there somewhere. And we're going to go down through those plans. Like, for instance, you don't show up on people's property with AR-15s and bulletproof vests ever again under any circumstance.
No, reserve that for proper agencies like the IRS.
Yeah, right. Let the good guys have the guns, right? And Don says, well, John, I mean, we have to have protection. Sometimes those situations can get heated. I said, they get heated because you never called them to even tell them what the hell you're doing on their land. You just come rolling up with a bunch of guys with guns. I said, Don, here's what it would take. Some farmer forgets to take his pills that morning and sees 10 vehicles coming down his half-mile-long road, getting out with guns and vests, and he's going to put a 30-06 round right through the chest of one of your guys. And then you're going to have a range war going on in Middle Tennessee.
On your hands.
That's what and I said, it'll be your fault if that happens, because you didn't call them up and say, hey, we'd like to get you a slice of a pie and a cup of coffee and show us a plan we're thinking about doing. Maybe if you approve, we just want to run it by you. But you don't do that. You just show up like FDR wanted you to and shove these hillbillies around. I said, that is over. That was step one. There's 5 steps in the thing that we're going to bring to them. So I have hopes after meeting with Don that those things will get implemented.
Do you feel like the TVA, how would you describe your relationship with them right now? Is it
right now?
Yeah.
That they want to figure out how to not have to have these fights.
Okay.
Stop doing stupid shit would be
Stop
pretty much the quickest.
Stop stepping on
the
American
quickest way.
landowners and running roughshod over them, and there's nothing for us to argue about.
I mean, I know I repeat it a lot, and you and I have talked about it in the times that we've had conversations, but most Tennesseans, I don't think, realize that they literally, the first contact that some of these landowners have with TVA is when TVA steps out of their truck, starts staking off their property,
right,
and telling them what is no longer theirs.
Correct.
That's the first and I'm like, how do you think that's going to end? I mean, that's not going to end well.
No.
And up until, sadly, up until recently, they didn't care.
They didn't care. They didn't care till Cheatham County.
Right.
Now they care greatly.
Right.
Do you think they care because you have made them realize the error of their ways, or is it because they keep getting caught?
I think they care because they can't withstand that level of reputational damage and having to abandon projects that they spent years planning out, and the thought of taking on Secretary Rollins and Lee Zeldin and everybody else in D.C. That's just really what it does. It goes back to the president because he has an energy dominance plan and policy he wants to see implemented, and TVA is critical to that happening. So if they keep doing things that get monkey wrenched and stopped and have to start all over again, that's slowing down what President Trump wants to see happen. See how all this intersects? Mm-hmm. And it all goes back to the landowner, as it should. So treat the landowners well and do what you do right by the landowner, and nobody's got anything to yell at you about. It doesn't matter if it costs you a few more $1 million to run an extra half a mile of cable or whatever you've got to do. It's way less expensive than what we're going to force you to do if you keep doing this.
Well, and they finally have somewhat of a wild card for them in the White House, and they came across, and I don't want this to get lost, they came across somebody that was willing to call their bluff. Because I think you told me a story about a communication that you had with one of their guys where you're like, he brought up Donald Trump, and you're like, you want to get him on the phone? We can get him on the phone.
Oh, yeah, I showed him the phone number.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, if you want to get him you want to bring up Donald Trump,
let's call him right now.
Let's call him. And they're like, whoa, okay, we can't bullshit this guy, so let's
I don't think people know how to handle human beings that actually will do what it is they say they're going to do these days. Mm-hmm. To your point earlier, I think they can They think they can threaten most people out of a decision. They can buy them out of it. They can maneuver them out of it. They can offer them something to just step to the side and let us do our thing. I am an independent guy. I have no debt. I don't owe anybody a nickel in the world. Everything I've ever dreamed that was possible has been superseded, thank God. I don't know why he's let me do all this stuff, but he did. So I really don't have anything now. Success is not really a driver for me. Significance is a driver for me. Significance. You know, we know about what tithe is. Tithe is Malachi 3:10, when you give at least 10% of your income to people that need it, other than yourself. Well, I also believe tithe pertains to influence. It pertains to helping people in arenas that they can't get in, defending people, using your time to do things for other people. It's not my land. TVA is not going anywhere near anything I own.
No, and if you put a monetary value on that, I think you exceed the 10%.
Well, it's my tithing of time, energy, platform, everything else. And so same thing with veterans. When we talk about the suicide rate is almost up to 40 people a day now in this country, and we've got a Republican cabinet, we've got a MAGA cabinet sitting up there, and the rate is still going up. Why? So I start sitting down with VFW and Folds of Honor and guys that run huge clinics for these vets that they have to fundraise for. I go, what is going on? Why is this rate continuing to go up? They say basically because they're just handing them bags of pills and saying, here, call us if you have any problems. And then they do have problems. And when they call them, they don't get a call back for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and they kill themselves waiting on a call back. That's not going to be allowed to go forward any longer. And, you know, Secretary Collins, I've known him forever. And over a year ago, I met him here in Nashville, and I told him, I want to come and sit down and talk with you, because what I'm hearing from these guys, there are simple things that can be done to dramatically get this suicide rate down. He goes, yeah, let's talk about it, man. Let's do it. And he never followed up. And a year goes by. So I went on X, and I said, hey, Sec Collins, basically, enough is enough. You got my number. Give me a call. 30 minutes later on a Sunday, he's calling me. Hey, man, you ain't got to hit me on Twitter. You got my number? I said, look at our text thread. It's been over a year since you responded to me.
Wow.
I said, so if you're not responding to me, I know you're not responding to the vets, because you're not. And that's part of the reason the suicide rate's going up. Not you personally, but the people you oversee.
No, but it's an indictment for sure.
Yeah, he didn't really have a whole lot. He's like, damn it. You know, like, yeah, that's true. And to his credit, he goes, come to D.C. as soon as you can. So April the 9th, I'm going to D.C. to sit in his office and talk through this. I think there's something, maybe the effectiveness of what I'm able to do with some of these situations is because I'm not in politics and I don't work for anybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think there's a lot to that.
Well, you're getting a reputation, I think, about your ability to get things done and your ability to just, you're finding the right causes, and you're finding the causes that are humanitarian in nature, and they sometimes butt up against a political machine. And so I think you're sort of like that guy that is up against the machine, standing up for the little people, if you will, for the farmers. And
it's the perfect window to be doing these things, because we have a friendly president and a friendly cabinet.
He
in place.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask you is, so in your battle with TVA, Trump, of course, wants to be energy independence and all those things. Were you originally seen by the Trump administration as somebody who was maybe getting in the way, or were they always receptive to your feedback on the TVA?
They were always receptive.
Interesting.
So Secretary Rollins of the USDA, she got my number, I think, through Senator Blackburn. And it's a 202 number. I answer it. She goes, John, this is Secretary Rollins. Just call me Brooke. I said, hey, Brooke. And she goes, I'm following your Cheatham County story. And she goes, we have a mandate from the president that USDA is supposed to protect as much farmland as we can. That's under assault, that's been bought by the wrong people, all different kinds of situations. My job is to try to protect farmland, open up farmland, increase our output as a country. Tell me about this Cheatham County deal. So I'm telling her about it. Do you have maps? Yes, I do. I show her the map. She goes, my God, this is thousands of acres that's getting ready to get torn up over there. I said, and 425 houses in a school district in the main water supply. She goes, yeah, that's not going to happen. I said, well, I need help, because all I've got right now is an iPhone and a selfie stick. Please help. She goes, we're going to help. And then she jumped in, and then the president jumped in, and then TVA has backed off. And the thing I needed to get out of Don Moole the other day was a commitment at the end of the meeting that that land would go back to the people of Cheatham County. So when Gavin Newsom or somebody like that becomes president, puts his TVA board in, they can't come drop a bomb on that county. And you know what? To Don's credit, he said, I can make that happen. I go, how soon can you make that happen? He goes, I can call the board and just tell them that's what we want to do. I said, well, pick up the phone and call them.
Let's go.
And so he did. He called the board and said, I think we should let the land in Cheatham County go back to the people. And they all said, cool. And so it's going to go back to the people. Now it's a matter of, is it a conservation easement, something that really protects it where that can never happen again. But that was a huge win. And honestly, it was some insight to TVA because Don's the boss on their attitude right now. That we got to prove to everybody that we're not the devil in the TVA. And I really think, I don't know if it's for all the right reasons. I'm sure a lot of it is business related. This is not worth it. I don't really care what the reason is as long as people stop getting kicked around.
I think one of the reasons why your message is so powerful, there's no personal benefit tied to it. Like nothing is going to really personally benefit you. Whereas so much of the conversation online, you can always look back and be like, okay, what are your real motives here?
The angles.
Yeah, and I think your motives are always pure, and I think that makes a huge difference.
Probably does.
Well, and Matt, you've got the JRA behind you, the John Rich Army, which is such a powerful weapon in your arsenal. I mean, the people that have followed you, that see the arc of your career, not only that, but the arc of your beliefs and how you're unafraid to share those beliefs. And that's created this dynamic where you bring up a call to arms, quote unquote, on social media platforms or whatever, and the people that you're talking to know that it's for real. This is not just BS. What do you think that a victory at the VA, if we're talking about these victories at TVA, what do some victories at the VA look like?
What I'm hoping to get out of that is number one, the connectivity between the VA and the vets is absolutely horrid. There is none. There is no connectivity. These guys are begging for help, and nobody will call them back. That's number one that we're going to address. And that's something the secretary can fix right away, like quickly. Number two is the general public. I look at veterans, and I go, why are veterans being treated differently than your average general public citizen? Like, why are there two playbooks here? Medicine is medicine, right? A patient is a patient, right? A doctor is a doctor, correct? No. At least that's not how they're treating these two groups. They're being treated very differently. So, for instance, if I went to my doctor and said, "Hey, I'm having mental issues. I'm having mental health issues." If I went in and said that, they go, "What's going on?" And you tell them, and then they determine, okay, you need to be taking this little white pill once a day. Okay, they would also say, but if you start having side effect A, B, C, D, E, you call my number anytime, day or night, and immediately stop taking that and come back in, and we're going to reevaluate the situation. That is not what they tell these veterans. They say, here's a big can of pills, and call us if you have a problem. And the suicide rate continues to go up. There's another big issue about how the general public is allowed to go into trials and use things like many doses of salicylics, many doses of MDMA. Like, I don't mean many, I mean MINI, many doses. Microdosing, thank you. That is non-addictive, way less invasive, generally does not cause suicidal tendencies. But that's not being allowed for our veterans at the VA. Why? Yeah. This is a wide question. Every vet in America that I've talked to has said, why will they not allow that? Why will they not allow homeopathics and other therapeutics to at least let us try it and see if that straightens me out? They won't. They just give me a big bag of pills. So I told Secretary Collins on the phone, I said, from an outsider looking in, I just called him Doug because I've known him, but outside looking in, Doug, it looks like the VA is nothing but an arm of big pharma pill pushers. That's the sentence. He did not like that at all. And he said, well, I can tell you right now, big pharma has no authority over me. None. I said, well, that's good to hear because it doesn't look that way. Oof. We need to come to D.C. and talk through this. Like, I mean, how hard are you willing to go? How hard am I willing to grind and fight and not blink at you to keep veterans from killing themselves at a clip of about 40 a day? I think there is no limit to how hard you go at something like that. You go at that harder than you go at it at the TVA over the landowners.
What I don't understand, though, is this is a righteous and just cause.
Amen.
And it's been going on for a long time. Why does it take, don't take this the wrong way, but why does it take a John Rich to have to force
I'm the first
issue?
guy asking that question.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? And maybe it goes back to I'm not affiliated with anybody. I'm not anybody's payroll, and
Yeah.
everybody else is. Anybody that can get to those levels and get in those offices, generally are going to be connected to something somewhere, and they're trying to play some kind of, if you'll do the right thing, I'll get a little something out of it, or what. I don't know what games they play, but you don't play games when you're talking about veterans killing themselves at a clip
Well, and
like
some
that.
of it is systemic, right? I mean, it's systemic. The government really doesn't do anything well. I mean, sadly, I mean, they don't. I mean, or certainly not cost effectively, and so, I mean, these bureaucracies kind of feed upon themselves, and they lose sight. I mean, I think there are a lot of similarities between TVA and VA in that they lose sight of their mission. The mission is to save lives. The mission is to protect property. And they lose sight of it through the bureaucracy because where else, I feel like there's an attitude, not on the ground level maybe, but there's an attitude of where else are they going to go, right? Right? We're the VA.
What are you
Where
going
else
to do?
you
What are you going to do about it?
When you talk about 2 tiers of healthcare, it's like I'd be open to that if it meant we rolled out the red carpet for our veterans and got them the best
They
healthcare.
get better than we get.
But
Right.
they don't.
No.
And
They want to
they're
turn
discarded.
the better healthcare into the
But this is
worst of the VA.
and I think this is one of the reasons why conservatives are so split currently on the conflict in Iran, and if it leads to boots on the ground. Because when you're talking about the suicides that we're seeing now, that is directly correlated to Iraq and Afghanistan, and we're looking like, are we going to continue this problem again? Is this going to be another situation where we're going to have a forever war, and then we're going to have decades of repercussions?
Yeah, that's where it came from. I mean, you're exactly right. All these guys in their 30s, 40s, 50s, generally, that's where they came from.
Yep.
Perception, I'm learning, is key to these agencies. How they are perceived by the public is really important to them.
Mm-hmm.
They do not want to be perceived by the negative things that they do. They want to play a word game, give you corporate speak, give you political speak, and try to say something that'll calm you down long enough where they can roll on down the road and maybe he won't show back up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll forget.
Maybe
Goldfish
they'll
memory.
forget. And as long as you don't forget and as long as you don't give up, eventually you're going to see something. You're going to see action happen.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, because you've been in the room with the man. I mean, I've been in a room with him, but I've never had a chance to talk to him. But the president, Donald Trump, I mean, we are so blessed to have him in the position that he's in because I feel like it's in his nature to want to solve issues that have been unsolvable, whatever they might be. I think that's his impetus behind the Middle East. I think Donald Trump truly believes that there's a possibility of solving at least. I mean, I don't know if it's possible.
I
or
was
not.
I was watching MS Now the other day. It's actually he wants a Trump Tower in Tehran.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's actually
golf
that's,
courses.
That's
right?
actually
Golf
the
courses.
goal. Yeah.
But I mean, it feels like he wants to be the man to tackle these big issues. I mean, you go back to moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Every president said, "Oh no, we really need to do that." Nobody did it because they were told, "Oh, there'd be unrest and there'd be chaos in the Middle East." And Donald Trump said, "Well, just do it, just do it." And we did it, and magically none of that materialized. And I feel like whether it's VA or the Middle East, you tell me, he just feels like I'm the guy that is willing to take this on because I think we can solve it.
My friendship with him, it's pretty clear that what really motivates him is legacy. He wants to he is an absolute pure-blood American, like probably a throwback to the Founding Fathers style attitude guy. And he identifies with like Teddy Roosevelt is like his favorite president, one of his favorite presidents, who charged San Juan Hill with bullets flying through his jacket. We all learned that story back when they taught history in school. We all learned that. I think he sees himself like that kind of guy, and this is a very small window for him to do as big of things as he can to try to save the country and get the world turned around, because he's got grandkids too. He loves his grandkids. He plays golf with his granddaughter all the time. I mean, he loves them. He is a people lover. He truly is that kind of guy. That off camera, he's got his arm around you and he's cutting up with you and hitting you in the ribs. And I mean, he's like, that's really who he is. And I think he sees that he's got the authority and the ability to make massive moves. Whether everybody agrees with him or not, he's trying to do things that he believes are going to correct course. That's really the thing. And when he dies, you look back and go, look at all the things on course corrections. Did he make mistakes? Yeah. But was the majority of what he did it correct the course? Hopefully history says yes, it did. And I think that's what we're watching right now. I don't know all the reasons why we did what we just did in Iran. Do you? If anybody tells you they know all the reasons why what is happening, they're lying. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows all the reasons. Nobody. On its face, these are not one-dimensional things. You know, social media likes to look at big issues as one-dimensional, and none of it's one-dimensional.
Right.
None of it. And if you don't know what the other motivations are behind it that might benefit our country, you can't really scream and holler about it. You're not going to see me screaming and hollering on social media about Iran, because I will be the first to tell you I don't understand everything that's going on, or what's really being, what the ultimate goal is of all of it. And they're not going to tell us what that is. You know what I mean?
Yep.
People get mad at me on social media because I won't weigh in on a particular subject, and I go, I'm not weighing in because I don't understand it all yet.
I had somebody yelling at me. So
great point.
the strikes happened Saturday or Friday night, Saturday morning. I had somebody yelling at me. They're like, "No thoughts on Iran?" with all these question marks. I was like, "No, I was at my kid's baseball practice actually, and everything's going to change within the next 48 hours. So why am I going to do research Saturday morning and then have to do it again?" So it's like, calm down.
Closing the border, I know what that is. I'll comment on that.
Let's go.
Knocking out cartel members,
Let's
I'm
make
all
it.
on board for that.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
a
what
word I
that
can
means.
support.
I mean, you know, making transgender surgeries illegal, all on board for that. But big, giant geopolitical situations that I am not privy to the comments in the Situation Room, which none of us are. We don't 100% know what that's all about. So I'm an observer.
When you first met him, I mean, over 10 years ago now, 15 years ago?
It was 2010.
Apprentice?
Yeah.
Apprentice?
So
Apprentice, great show, right? You ever heard of it?
So-
Huge.
Everybody
A lot of
loved it.
people watch it.
You
They
can
say it's the best show ever.
You should watch
How'd
it.
you do on Apprentice, John?
I want it.
I knew the answer to that.
John
question.
Rich. I've never heard of the guy, but he seems like he's pretty good. Like he didn't have any idea about me at all.
So when you first meet him and you're getting to know him, do you get this hint that he has bigger aspirations? Were the goals there?
Not in the
at
beginning,
that point?
but I did at the end, brother. Let me tell you, one of the funniest things that ever happened in my life. So he goes, in the winner of Celebrity Apprentices, and this is live TV on NBC, and there's like 25 million people, biggest show on TV. And the winner of Celebrity Apprentices, John Rich. And then all this confetti falls out of the ceiling. The lights are going crazy. Everybody's screaming and hollering. Live TV. Trump gets up from behind the desk, walks around, puts his arm around me, and he's got his thumb up going like this. And he leans down into my ear and he goes, "Did you hear I'm thinking about running for president?"
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. That's hilarious.
He's like pointing at me going, "Yeah, he's the champion, right?" I go, "Yeah, I did hear that. I heard that." Like I'm yelling it because it's so loud in the room. He goes, "You think I should do it?" He's going like that. And I said, "Might as well. I'd vote for you." He goes, "Right." He goes, "Right. Why the hell not? Why the hell not, right?" That was 2011. And then he slaps me in the chest real hard. Like, "Anyway, great job. And he slaps me in the chest and he walks off the set. So in 2011, he's sitting there telling me, "You think I should do it?" So he's been thinking about it a long time.
You see some of those old clips too of, back in the day when, they didn't think it was an awful human being. People like Oprah would have him on the shows.
Oh, back when he was getting NAACP awards with Rosa
right.
Parks.
Yeah, and he was buddies with the late Jesse Jackson, right? And and he's like saying, "Yeah, I could do this job. I think I could do the job. You think I should do the job? I think he's been thinking about this for all of his adult life."
Maybe so. It wouldn't surprise me. He's a thinker. He thinks in decades.
Yeah.
He doesn't really think in days, weeks, or years. It's like generationally. That's how he thinks.
Do you consider? I'm curious. I'm listening to you and all of these things that you've done for folks, and I think people know that you're a conservative, but
I don't know. You don't want to out him.
I think
Thanks a lot. I was going to say that on my own time, but I guess we're working on
Come
your
on,
calendar
Dan.
now.
All your liberal friends are going
Way to go. There went my Twitter following.
but I think that I think though that, and don't take this the wrong way, but I feel like you're beyond politics at this point. Like you're taking on these major causes, and you're sticking up for the folks that don't have a voice. I feel like that's beyond politics. I think that is something far more important than politics.
It is beyond politics.
Yeah.
It's like we got a situation going on now in South Central Middle Tennessee with the Duck Rivers happening down there. That's the next one up for bat right
Columbia?
there. Yeah.
Columbia Power and Water.
That's the next batter up. It's going to be that little subject, which is massive. That is a massive, massive situation. And listen, there are Republican representatives and mayors and commissioners and all that are in the mix of all that. I don't care if you're a Republican.
Yeah.
Don't care. I don't care if you and I talk about football scores on the weekend. When we're going to talk about this subject, we're on opposite sides of the table. And that has to be the case. You cannot say, well, a bunch of landowners are getting manhandled, but it's Republicans doing it, so I'll leave that one alone. I'm only going to go to the ones where the Democrats are doing it. How hypocritical is that? I mean, are you here on behalf of landowners or not? And a lot of the people in Cheatham County, even, that's a red county, 70% red county. There were people out there that liberal as you can get that hate everything about me, thanking me for putting up that fight on their behalf so they didn't lose their land. It's interesting how those causes, again, to your point, erase the political barriers. When you start talking about human beings being mistreated, the lines get erased. But you have to be willing to do that yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to pick up the phone, I do, and call people that I've even donated to and even campaigned for and sit there and go, this ain't going to work.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work. You got to have to figure something else out. And I think that's when they take you serious because they realize I'm not looking for favor from the Republican Party. I've been asked to run for all kinds of offices in this state. I can't even tell you how many times.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, I was literally
Well,
thinking the same thing. Like, when are we going to get Governor John Rich?
I've
Yeah,
had-
the three of us were holding that question. to
Yeah,
the
were
end.
you?
Yeah, we're waiting
When's
till
he
the
running for
end.
public
Well,
office, right?
I've had super PACs call me, and I've had wealthy people call me and go, "Hey, if you run, we're all behind you. You'll win." I go, "Wouldn't that be a disaster?" They go, "What do you mean? If you won, it would be a disaster?" I go, "Absolutely." I said, "If I ran and won in that seat that you're talking about right there, I no longer can do the things that I'm actually good at doing. I would be tethered down to the system. It'd be like, would I rather be singing my songs with no record deal? Yes, I would. Instead of signing up with the big record label and now you get to tell me what I can and cannot do. I'd much rather. I like freedom. It's kind of I get a little buzzed on freedom. I like it.
Yep.
It's addictive to me. I like being free. I like being able to say whatever I want and help people by saying whatever I want. I like to say what they would say if they were in the room to say it, which is what politicians are supposed to do.
Yeah.
But they're all hung up 100 different ways, and they'll sometimes they'll say it, and sometimes they won't. And when you don't have that, you don't have to play games. You can just come right at it.
Sometimes politics gets in the way of doing the right thing.
Does it?
Yeah.
I've never noticed that.
How do we encourage, if it's not you, then how do we encourage good-minded, people with their hearts in the right place and their minds in the right place to run for public office? We need those people.
Seems like it's usually the psychopaths.
Right. Well, and I've always said, like, when it comes to like the Supreme Court, for example, you never see a Supreme Court justice get more conservative. The most conservative they're ever going to be is the day that they are sworn in. Now, they might stay there. Thank you, Clarence Thomas. Thank you, Alito.
Looking at you, Amy Coney Barrett.
But oftentimes they move. Yeah, they slide to the middle. Right. They never slide right. They always slide left. Politicians never slide toward the people. They always slide toward the big and rich folks because they think that those folks. No, not big and rich. That's a bad way to put it. But they slide toward the rich donors because they think that's their avenue for reelection. Because I've got to have the money to get reelected.
It is their avenue for reelection.
And sadly, it is. So how do we better encourage those people that are less likely to do that shuffle to the powerful? And I don't know that there's an answer.
You'd have to. I mean, you would have to go into a situation like that knowing I do not care if I get reelected, and you have to mean it. And then you go in there and just tear up Jack, much as you can. You just tear it up. do as much stuff as you can possibly do, knowing I'm going to lose all my donors and they're not going to like me anymore and the system's going to hate me, and I won't be in that seat in 4 years or 6 years or 2 years or whatever it might be. You have to just pretty much just know that's how it's going to be if you come at it the way you want to come at it. And a lot of the people, I think, step in thinking, I'm going to run for Congress in 2 years. I'm going to do as much as I can in 2 years. And they really mean that, because I've known some of them. And then they get in and then they realize, I would like another 2 more years. So, you know, it'd be nice if maybe I run for senator. And then they start getting in that world, and they see how to climb that ladder, and then they start playing the game. You'd have to be a hardcore independent. I don't care if you guys vote me out of office. I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Y'all know what I learned moving to Tennessee? And I mean this, the epitome of the person that you just described, James K. Polk. I'm not kidding. Y'all look up James K. Polk. James K. Polk, I didn't realize he was a one-termer because he didn't run again. He didn't want to run again. He promised that he wouldn't run again. From Columbia, Tennessee, he ran. He said, this is what I want to do. He had a list of like 6 things. Went in there, got the 6 things done, and said, I'm going home to Tennessee.
Okay.
And they're like, no, you need to run again. You're very popular. You could win. It's like, I'm good. Thanks a lot. And, I love that spirit.
But John Adams said only people who detest politics should run for public office.
Amen.
That's
you should have to hold your nose and do it.
Yeah.
Amen.
It's funny. You described what you just described, somebody going in and doing everything they could in 2 years and going out. Well, that's how Donald Trump right now seems to be operating.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's how George Washington was.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to be the president. He's like, find somebody else. I'm a general. I did my job. No, thank you. I'm really honored, but no. And they went, no, you have to do it. You're the number one American.
Like crossing
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. So he begrudgingly becomes the first president of the United States.
Yeah.
That's the attitude a person would have to have.
Crossing frozen rivers and killing the British on Christmas Eve was more his style.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
A little panache there.
Yeah.
So I think there's people out there, like you, to your point, that are the real McCoys, very smart, experts in their fields, that if they ran for politics and just knew, I don't care if I'm not going to do what it takes to win a re-election, then you would get stuff done. But it'd take a lot of them.
I've wondered, and I think you guys and I have talked about this before, but I'm curious your thoughts on it, John. As frustrating as 2020 was, I have become convinced that it was that there was God's hand on this country. Yep. That Donald Trump is far more powerful in his role today than he would have been having consecutive terms. As frustrating as it was, and I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't, guard against it ever happening again. But I've become convinced that it was a spiritual thing.
Completely agree with that.
Yep.
Well, that's a biblical principle. Everything that happened,
right?
Which is, human beings, all of us have this real tough time believing that what you're telling us is actually the truth, and we have to experience it for ourselves to fully believe that's what it is. So you can tell people all day long, there's a bunch of communists, socialists, and Marxists that want to run the United States, and they'll go, oh, give me a break, come on, whatever. Get 4 years of that, though, and find out that if you don't take this shot, you're going to lose your job and your kids can't go to school. And by the way, you can't know what's in it, but you have to take it anyway. And if you don't, you're out, and on and on and on, and broke the necks of Americans. And we went, oh, that's what tyranny looks like. That's actual tyranny. Mm-hmm. It's like you got kids, you say, son, don't touch the stove. It will burn your hand. He'll go, okay. But he doesn't really believe you until one day he lays his hand up there and takes a hide off of his palm. He'll never touch it again after that. Unfortunately, pain is the greatest alarm clock. Pain is an incredible alarm clock. And God used it throughout the Bible. When his people got too off track, he would bring pain upon them to get them back onto track. And that's what it took. Just like a parent, what's punishment? It's a version of pain, however you want to do it, whether it's sitting them down or you give them a spanking or whatever it is. It's an uncomfortable situation that they hopefully learn about it. I made this analogy on the Sean Ryan show. I said, it's like you tell your kids, hey, don't be playing football out in the street. You'll get run over by a car. Come on back in the house. And they go, okay, Daddy. And they do. And the next day you walk out there, they're back out in the street again playing football. Are you going to say the exact same thing to them that you said yesterday, or is it going to get ramped up this time? It's going to get ramped up. And then you go out the third day, there they are again doing it. Now what's going to happen? Now something serious is going to happen. Why? Not because I hate you. It's going to happen because I love you and I don't want you to get hit by a car because you're my kid. And so then you got to make it drastic, and it's got to be something really painful in their life to keep them out of the streets so they don't die by getting hit by a car. That is how God, I believe, is treating our country right now. That he's running us through pain, running us through hard times and trouble to shake people out of the stupor that they've been in for many, many decades. And unfortunately, pain is what it requires. But I do think our country can come back from whatever pain is coming our way. 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and turn from their evil ways, I will hear their prayer and I will come and heal their land. And most Christians hear that passage and they go, that's right, if the devil's people will just get right. I mean, if we didn't have so many Satanists in this country and a bunch of pedophiles and blah, 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 and America would get back on track. That's not what it says. It says, if my people will turn from their wicked ways and humble themselves, then I will come and heal their land. So it's us, it's the Christians that have laid back. It's the Christians that have been derelict at duty and asleep at the wheel. It's the Christians in America that have allowed this thing to go on so far. So I think at some point he's just going to go, fine, you're not going to do what you're supposed to do. Daddy's going to pick up the switch. Daddy's going to whip your legs with a switch now until you understand. And I think that's what America's going through right now.
The Biden switch hurt.
The Biden switch hurt.
It did.
Yeah, my worry is pain fades. And so
That's right.
Yeah, so
That's how I talked my wife into having 3 more kids.
No doubt.
you've got to hard out in like 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
what do you want to accomplish in the next couple of years as the Trump administration? We got, 2.5 years left now? So
Yep.
Number one, what do you want to accomplish? But number two, there's so much good you can do. Do you find yourself having to choose between all these different projects that you want to do?
It's starting to get pretty busy.
Yeah.
When you have a couple of wins that are that big, a lot of people start calling, but that's fine with me. Fortunately, this group in D.C., that's what they do. So I take incoming, and I'll suss it out, and I'll send it on to them, and then they kind of fill me in. We can't do anything, or yes, we can do something. I think my goal would be to affect systemic changes in major sectors of the country. Right now, I'm looking at veterans and I'm looking at landowners. Those are the two big ones. I can't focus on everything, but those two are things that I deeply care about. Those are the people I come from. And like I said, we've got a friendly cabinet in place and a friendly president. This is the time to go in. Yep. And they're Republicans, right? So I'm going to have to sit there and yank the chain of fellow Republicans to do it. But that's okay. Somebody needs to do it, and this is the shot. And if I fail at it, well, you can't say I didn't go in there and give it the old heave-ho.
Yeah, but you've already had a lot of success, though. Like you could hang your hat right now, and you've done such incredible good, and you've still got a lot of ways to go.
I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man, God bless you in the work that you're doing. Seriously.
I feel good. God's kept me healthy. I don't know how that's possible after that many years of being on the road and playing music, but he has. And my brain works pretty good. And for whatever reason, it is strange to me on a daily basis. I'll go, why in the world did you put me in this situation? Like I'll be outside mowing the yard, or I'm going, this is unbelievable. Like I look down at the phone and go, I just missed a phone call from some name I should not be connected to.
Well, it's funny. At one point, and I talked about it before. One point you're playing bass.
Yeah.
And now here you are many years later, and you've got the president on your cell phone. I mean, what an incredible
I don't know
journey.
how that's possible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, God just did it. And I guess, one thing that I believe is a actual real thing is that God opens doors for people who have enough balls to run through the door.
Yes.
I don't think he wastes his time opening the door if he knows you're never going to run through it. And that's to whom much is given, much is required. All of that intersects through there. So as I see a door open, and there's no way I couldn't open it, but it just flung itself open, and I see the clear shot of that. You want me to go do that? That's why I kicked the door open. Okay, I don't know what's going to happen. Here we go. And you just run straight into it. Then he'll open up more and more and more. And again, I look at it as significance versus success, man. I don't need another plaque. But I sure would like to have a lot of people going, yay, we kept our farm. Yay, my son didn't kill himself because the doctor actually called him back. I'd like that.
Well said.
I'd like that to be said at my funeral someday. That would mean a lot to me.
Absolutely.
Well, I've got to do this. This is just a flex, John, toward Dan. How's the pool? Pool's looking good?
Yeah, it's looking
I've
good.
Seen the pool. Have you seen the pool?
I have.
Oh, have you?
It's
Okay.
amazing. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm
Nice
waiting
pool.
for the pool party this summer.
Maybe
great
maybe
pool.
you should do your podcast poolside next
Oh,
time.
come
Oh,
on.
let's go.
You can do the podcast from the neck of the pool?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Sit
That'd
up in
be
that
cool.
guitar headstock hot tub.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah,
Best view in the city.
yeah.
best
Well, I
view in the
appreciate what
city.
you
Hey.
guys do. It's nice to have three guys like you in town talking every day, keeping everybody up to speed. And thanks for letting me come on from time to time to talk about what I'm doing.
Amen.
Man, we appreciate you, John. Thank you.
Thank
And
you,
hit
guys.
like and subscribe on your way out. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Mostly Peaceful. John said that God made his brain still work. If yours still works, definitely hit subscribe. We appreciate you doing so. And we'll join you next time on Mostly Peaceful.
Awesome.
That's the fastest 60 minutes I've ever encountered.
There's a lot to talk about.